What's up guys, my name is Hayden Radcliffe and today we are going to look at the history of Cartel, the band that should have been so much bigger than they were. If you've heard of Cartel, you've probably only heard of them because of their 2005 album, Chroma. Or maybe you've heard of Cartel because of their appearance on the MTV show Band in a Bubble back in 2007. This was definitely their most popular album by far and it had a lot of big hits on it. Or maybe you've never heard of them before, but you're still watching this video. First of all, thank you, and second of all, I hope that you love this band after watching this video. So in this video, we are going to be going over the entire history of Cartel, from starting off as a band back in the early 2000s to where they are now in 2025 and onward. This band is one of my favorite bands of all time, and in particular, I got even more into them this year than I had in previous years. So let's dive in from the very beginning. In early 2004, the band self-releases their first EP called the Ransom EP. This EP features one song on it that would be re-recorded for their first full-length album called Chroma. That song is called Lucky Street, and if you listen to the version on the Ransom EP and then listen to the Chroma version, there is a huge difference, and obviously the Chroma version sounds way better produced. Shortly after that EP comes out, the band signs to their first record label, the Militia Group. After going on a few different tours, it's at this time that the band goes into Tree Sound Studios in Atlanta, Georgia to record their first album, Chroma. And like I said, if you know this band, you probably know them because of this album. Chroma came out in the fall of 2005, and it sold 3,000 copies in its first week and hit number 140 on the Billboard Top 200. And for a band's first album back in 2005, that was a pretty impressive feat. People recognize a good album when they hear it. And their first single from this album remains as their most popular song to date. And that song is Honestly.
Don't mind what I'm trying to say, 'cause I'm being honest.
Honestly hit number 89 on the Billboard Top 100, and that song was certified gold. This song has a really fun vibe right off the start, and the music video is super cool too. Be sure to check that out if you haven't. This is my custom burned CD that I have of the first 3 albums by Cartel. I burned the CD back when I was still in high school, I think. And I printed off pictures of the album from Costco and then bought my own jewel cases from Office Depot and then made my own labels and wrote all of the songs I put onto the CD on the backside with a Sharpie. Their other big hit from this album, and in my opinion, the quintessential Cartel song if you want to get into the band for the first time, is going to be the song Say Anything Else. This song is also really fun to sing along to, and the music video feels very nostalgic too. Say Anything Else was included in the soundtrack of Madden 07. Every single song on this album is amazing, and it even ends with a 9-minute powerhouse of a song just titled the letter A, which is the second part of a dual song called Q and A, question and answer. Because of all of their success with Chroma, the band was planning on promoting that album more and releasing more singles, but that got cut a bit short because of the announcement of their next album and the theme around what this was going to be. In 2007, Cartel was part of a new TV show on MTV called Band in a Bubble. And the overall theme of this show was that a band was going to be trapped inside this big glass dome in New York City for 20 days, where they had to completely write, record, and produce and finish an album start to finish in that 20-day period. There were cameras in pretty much every room of this dome, and fans could watch the live stream of the band working on the album at any time on their website. Band in a Bubble was sponsored by Dr. Pepper, and there were 23 different security cameras all around the dome because of Dr. Pepper's new marketing campaign that had 23 different flavors of Dr. Pepper. Okay, so according to this commercial sponsored by Dr. Pepper, there was this sweepstakes where apparently because of the 23 different flavors of soda, the more Dr. Pepper that you bought, it gave you more access to viewing more cameras. And there was also a sweepstakes where you bought the different types of Dr. Pepper, and then you could enter to win different prizes like MP3 players and get digital downloads of their new album. This is something that would never, ever happen today. So I just think this is so cool that they did this back in the day. But there's also a lot of backlash about this whole thing, and it turned out to kind of be fake. Now, after Band in a Bubble concluded, their finished product was this, their self-titled album from 2007, just called Cartel. But here's the thing that we learned about this album and the production process and Band in a Bubble in general. Basically, the entire Band in a Bubble thing was just a marketing gimmick, which honestly makes a ton of sense because if you've ever tried to record an album or write an entire album or produce it or do anything like that, it takes a lot of time, and doing everything start to finish in 20 days is insane. For the past year, I was an audio engineering student at Blackbird Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I got to learn the process of writing and recording and producing a song and an album. It takes a ton of time. Also, I think most of the episodes from Band in a Bubble are available on YouTube if you want to go check it out. Now, although the Band in a Bubble thing was just a big marketing gimmick, the actual finished product that they released was an amazing album. I feel like this was when Cartel was having their make or break moment. And that was either gonna make Cartel blow up or they were gonna kind of lay flat. Now, I think that this album only ended up selling about half as good as Chroma, which really is a shame because I actually really love this album, and I think it has some of their best songs of their entire catalog. This album does feel different than Chroma, but kind of like a more alternative pop rock kind of album. Their self-titled album only had one single released, and it was a song called Lose It. This one has a pretty cool music video as well. And an interesting but also scary fact about this music video is that the actress in this video was actually murdered not too long after this video came out. She was only like 22 or something. It's really sad. There's two songs that I wanted to highlight from this album, and the first one is going to be the song Wasted. I think that song has the best lyrics written by Cartel out of anything in their catalog. It makes you think about growing up and getting older and death. Wasted carries a very melancholy vibe and just makes you reflect on your life. When I rediscovered this song this year, it really had a huge impact on me, and it's become one of my favorite songs of all time. I think this is like the biggest song on the album. It has an orchestra to it, and it just feels so full. There's also a remixed version featuring Wyclef Jean, which apparently is a big deal to a lot of people. This album also features a 9-minute song, and this one is called If I Were to Write the Song, but it also features a secret bonus hidden track called Get Through This. And that song is also one of my favorite songs by Cartel of all time. It features a beautiful melancholy piano. And I think that Will's vocals are beautiful in this song. And again, it really paints a great picture in your mind. And it just makes you think about life and dealing with hard times, but being able to get through it no matter what. Love this song. I really love that I got this album on green vinyl. There aren't that many pressings of this album on vinyl, so I was really happy to pick it up. And I actually got this just a few days ago for my 23rd birthday. And in 2009, the band released their third album. This time it was called Cycles. I think this is my least favorite album from the band, but it still features a ton of great songs. They just don't do as much for me as their other albums. This album also features some of the band's biggest hits, like their song Faster Ride and Let's Go.
Let me reintroduce myself as a man with a cause.
And in 2011, the band released a 5-song EP called In Stereo. I almost never hear anyone talk about this EP, but personally, I really love it. This is a really strong EP, but I especially love the songs In Stereo, Lessons in Love, and American Dreams.
Hey, you are a star, you're gonna make
In 2013, Cartel releases their fourth and newest album to date, Collider. I really love when the vinyl record color matches the album artwork, and I feel like this red and clear and white splatter butterfly style vinyl really matches well with the Collider album cover. Now, in my opinion, this album feels like Chroma 2.0. These songs just kind of carry the same vibe, in my opinion, of songs on Chroma. My three personal favorites are going to be the songs Uninspired,
And now they're selling us a way out, a bitter pill. We can't afford the blood we spilled.
Sympathy, and Mosaic.
You haven't got the best of me.
There's elements of the song Sympathy that go into the song Mosaic, and you really can't listen to Mosaic without listening to Sympathy first, and I love when bands do that. This is also an album by Cartel that I pretty much hear nobody talk about ever. Not because it's bad, just because it's just not very well known. Cartel tends to be a pretty underrated band in my opinion. But if you've listened to Chroma and you haven't heard Collider, I would really recommend listening to this album. Listen to all their albums, they're all great. So Collider came out in 2013, and like I said, this is their newest album to date. That was 12 years ago, but thankfully Cartel has done some stuff in between that time, so let's talk about it. In 2015, Cartel went on tour for the 10-year anniversary of Chroma, where they played the entire album in full front to back. After that, the band kind of went on hiatus for a while, kind of just playing a few shows every now and then, but not headlining anything. I first discovered Cartel in 2019, so I got to listen to all their albums, but they hadn't released anything new for a while, and I kind of felt like they weren't even really a band anymore. Will got married in 2008, and I think somewhere around 2015, Will had a child. So I think he just kind of stepped back from the band and kind of went into dad mode and just started, taking care of his child and experiencing that. Will also became a record producer, helping produce lots of other albums. Will has also helped as a backup or a touring musician with New Found Glory in the past several years. Then in 2022, kind of out of the blue, Cartel came back and they released a couple new songs. Their first new single in 9 years being called 17, and their next song called The End. Now, I think these two songs are fine. They're not like any of Cartel's best stuff, but it is cool just to hear new Cartel music in almost a decade. That was a really special moment for me. Then they kind of went quiet again for a couple of years, just playing some smaller shows. But finally, this year in 2025, Cartel came back in full strides. That's because it's the 20th anniversary of Chroma. So this actually is not the original version of Chroma. This is the 20th anniversary re-recorded version. The band went ahead and re-recorded the entire album. Basically, they wanted to take their new knowledge and experience from the past 20 years of being a band and put all of that into re-recording their first album. So if you take a listen to it, obviously the songs do sound a little bit different. They of course still have the same structure to it, but they sound different, and some of the songs might sound better, some of the songs might not sound as good. It kind of depends on your preference. Their song called Save Us, which on the original is a piano ballad, changed into an acoustic ballad on this version of the album. And personally, I really like this version of the song Save Us way more than the original, but I think I'm kind of in the minority with that. Also, for this new version of the album, the songs Q and A just became one song, not two separate ones. And it features Cassidy Pope. Now, I think that this is a great version of the album, but I do love the original one the most because it has that classic early 2000s nostalgic feel to it that you just can't replicate. But give this new version of Chroma a listen if you haven't. It also comes with this pretty cool booklet. Also, Cartel's drummer Kevin Sanders decided to leave the band, I think late last year, because he just didn't want to keep going on tour and living that lifestyle. And I actually got to meet him a few months ago, which is really cool. And thankfully, he still recorded the drums for this new version of the album. And I really wish that I had the original version of the album on vinyl, but for some reason, because of copyright issues or something, it's really hard for the band to be able to repress the original version of Chroma on vinyl. And I think that's another reason why they decided just to go ahead and re-record the entire album, because they knew for the 20th anniversary of the album, they could capitalize on gaining gaining a lot of money because of how loved this album is by fans. And a ton of people want the original version of the album on vinyl, but if they can't do that, they may as well just re-record it and give it to fans this way, which is still really great. And just like their 10-year anniversary, they went on tour playing the album in full, plus a bunch of other of their greatest hits. And I finally, after so many years, got to see Cartel live, and this was something I had wanted for so long. And they did not disappoint. It was a super great show, and I had a really fun time. And I actually bought this version of the record there at the tour. I think this tour variant rainbow splatter of Chroma is one of my favorite looking record pressings of all time. And in a recent interview, Will Pugh stated that in 2026, the band is planning on releasing a brand new album for the first time in 13 years, if you don't count the re-recorded version of Chroma. Now, from what I've heard, he says that this album rips. So I'm really excited to check it out, of course. I really love Cartel, and I can't wait to hear how it sounds. So what happened to Cartel? How did they go from being such a popular band, even being on MTV, to kind of just falling off? Why is Cartel so underrated? Now, from what I've learned about the band, I feel like the biggest cause of this happening was because of the band in a bubble experiment. Because of this happening, I think it made Cartel have to cut the promotion of Chroma early, so they couldn't actually get that album out there and release all of the music videos and the singles that they should have done for an album that was that popular. And because of that happening, and they just jumped into their second album and the whole band in a bubble thing, they didn't get to promote their first album as much as they wanted to. And I think that kind of killed them, unfortunately. Their second album did have some success, but not nearly as much as Chroma. And I kind of feel like with every new album they made after that, their sales just kind of dropped and dropped. Now also, I wanted to do something cool where I asked my followers what their thoughts were on Chroma by Cartel. Here are some of the comments that people had to say about their thoughts and memories and experiences with this album. This is my favorite part of doing this type of stuff because I get to connect with my followers and fans and grow this community of people who share and connect with their memories and stories of albums, bands, and songs. I think it's super cool to read and hear these comments that people said and just picture and imagine those stories that they're sharing about when they heard this album for the first time, or when they went to the CD store and picked up this album because they saw the artwork and it looked cool. Stuff like that. I love reading about that and connecting with all of you through this. Speaking of which, if you're watching this video and you have any stories to share about any album by Cartel or just the band in general, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed watching this video, I would love it if you gave this video a like. And if you learned something new from this video, I would absolutely love it if you subscribed. I am trying really hard to grow my personal brand to a point where I can start making a living from doing social media content creation on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So I would also love it if you follow me on those platforms as well. Chroma by Cartel would definitely land on the list for me as one of the best pop punk albums of all time. There's a lot of great things coming with this channel. I really believe that it's all gonna work out. So you may as well subscribe to follow along on this journey and see where I get. And that way you can leave comments later on and say that you were here day one. Or year one. Day one already happened a few months ago. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm really gonna try and get more videos out more frequently. Sometimes I just get super caught up with life, but I am trying my best here. I want this more than anything in life. I just turned 23 and I can't wait to see where I am by the time I turn 24. Love you guys. Peace out.